First came the Great Resignation. Now, quiet quitting, a trend where employees stay on the job but skate through with the bare minimum. Doing what's required and not going above and beyond might sound like good boundaries, but that depends on who you ask. Today, we're asking our expert connections. Welcome to the show. I'm Julie Holton. Experts who warn we're heading into a recession now say those quiet quitters could be the first to go. And this post-pandemic job market, which has tended to favor employees, could be turning over and now landing back in the hands of employers. So where does this leave us? Let's dive first into the psychology of this movement. Joyce Marter has led sessions on this topic for more than 20 years as a global keynote speaker and corporate trainer for organizations across all industries. Most recently, you may recognize Joyce Marter from the Financial Mindset Fix, her book and digital course combining mental and financial health. Joyce, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Julie.
This is such an important topic, Joyce. There are so many layers to this discussion. We're talking mental health for workers who want work-life balance and boundaries. Also, the health of our companies that need people to give 100%. So let's talk first about employee wellness. What is driving this movement of quiet quitting?
Well, I have a 20-year background in employee assistance program work, which exactly focuses on just what you said, which is employee wellness and making sure that employees are taking care of ourselves so that we stay happy and healthy and functioning at work. And there have been challenges of late, particularly with the pandemic. The pandemic is a global chronic collective trauma that has wreaked havoc on our mental health. We have been in a state of chronic uncertainty and change, and it has for many exacerbated or triggered new mental health conditions, most commonly chronic burnout. And according to the World Health Organization, a new study came out that 785,000 people die per year from overwork and burnout. So our American corporate culture sort of values being busy. And the study found out that workers who work over 55 hours per week are at higher risk for stroke and heart disease and other mental health issues. So this is a real conflict between the employer and the employee wellness, and things need to change. So like you said, many people have either left because of the Great Resignation. They're seeking greater work-life balance, more control over their schedule, their income, and their routine, whether they're able to work remotely or from home. And these changes have also called upon and created this silent resignation or quiet quitting.
Yeah, and Joyce, we've talked. It's so important to not burn out. Burnout does nothing for the person nothing but cause health problems for the person who's experiencing it. Also for employers, we don't want our employees to be burnt out either. What are some of the benefits? Okay, when we're talking about quiet quitting, when we're talking about setting boundaries, especially for those who perhaps are remote working. I remember we talked during the pandemic, a lot of workers were trying to find that balance between work life and home life, which gets really blurred when you're working from home, right? So when we're talking about quiet quitting, there's a lot of negative connotation here. We're talking about workers who are still going to work every day. They're still clocking in every day. What are some of the benefits perhaps to them slowing down and maybe not working more than 55 hours per week?
Some of the benefits would include setting healthy limits and boundaries with work. So as a therapist, I support my clients in setting those healthy boundaries, working the 40-hour work week ending your day and having more time for leisure, self-care, for connection with your family and friends, and for sleep and wellness. And it can actually improve your productivity during the workday because you're refreshed and you're feeling better, and you have higher morale typically if you have a healthy and happy life outside of work. So it's really healthy for the individual employee to set those limits and boundaries with work. It can be challenging for the workplace. I know I've been asked to provide workplace work-life balance seminars for some companies. For example, in the mortgage industry, one actually said to me, I want you to help them with work-life balance, but please don't tell them to work any less than 80 or 100 hours per week. Can you imagine? That just really isn't a healthy expectation. We need to shift the expectation of the employer as well.
Okay, so let's talk about that shift, the shift within companies. Changing culture is a big task to take on, especially when so many companies are dealing with, we keep calling it post pandemic. A lot of this is still kind of slugging through this new normal, figuring out what that even looks like. But when it
Right.
comes to setting boundaries, focusing on employee wellness, there must be benefits for businesses. What are those benefits?
Oh my gosh, there's so many benefits to really supporting your employees in this way. Having realistic work expectations is going to set your employees up for success. By providing them with employee assistance programs and wellness benefits, many companies offer mindfulness benefits like Headspace and Calm, which are mindfulness apps, and other services like Ginger and While that offer 24/7 chat therapy. All of this helps employees maintain their mental well-being so that they can stay happy and healthy at work. It improves morale and loyalty to the company, and really can create more of a collaborative culture.
Joyce, I think at first brush, it might seem like quiet quitting has a lot of benefits for the worker who's maybe taking a step back, slowing down, not going above and beyond, kind of that mindset of I'm just going to do what I have to do and then I'm going to focus on things outside of work. But there can also be a negative impact on the quiet quitters themselves. What are some of those cons? What are some of the negative things for employees?
Really, it can negatively impact their professional development and their opportunities for learning and growth and for advancement within their career. They may have lower ambition or desire to achieve. They may miss out on promotions or mentoring opportunities. They may have less connection to the company, have less of a community engagement and opportunity for mentorship and getting involved in leadership and really more learning experiences, and less collaboration that leads to creative brainstorming and problem solving that not only helps the organizations grow and flourish, but it helps individual employees be challenged and engaged and expand and thrive in their careers. And I really think our personal and professional success are two sides of the same coin, and they feed off of one another. And so if we're feeling energized and appreciated at work, that's going to flow over into our personal life and vice versa.
Here's the big question, Joyce. This is the multi-million dollar question, I'm sure, for all companies. But what are some of your thoughts on how employers can start to turn this around? I mean, we've talked. I want to just say again, we've talked about this recession that some experts say is coming, some say is already here. Either way, there may be some upsides to this downturn, but one of them is definitely not losing your job. And we know it goes without saying that if someone is just, simply going through the motions at work, they're going to be first on that list for layoffs. That's what the experts are saying, but I don't know that we really need the experts to tell us that. If you're not, working to get ahead, then you're not standing out, you're not rising above, you're not getting that next promotion. And if your company is downsizing, you could be on that list. So in general, looking at the big picture of this, what are some ways that employers can turn this around?
Well, like you said, I've been providing webinars and in-person corporate trainings in the areas of mental health and wellness across industries. And what I'm hearing is that the return to the workplace has definitely been a challenging reintegration for many individuals who enjoyed the flexibility of work-life balance with a remote position. And so really looking at offering as much as possible a flexible schedule or hybrid model, or the ability to come into the office a couple days per week rather than every day in the office. Of course, it depends on the position and the nature of the work that you have, but flexibility with schedule and the ability to work remote is definitely something that seems to keep employees happy. Again, being mindful of workload and work hours. Psychological safety is something that's really important. And that is essentially creating a culture where employees feel safe and comfortable coming forward to their supervisors and managers and leadership and saying, hey, I'm burnt out, or I'm dealing with a mental health condition or a personal struggle at home, or I'm not feeling very happy or content in my job, without fear of retaliation, in hopes that there can be a collaborative and constructive conversation about how to receive the support and tools that they need, whether it's through employee resource groups or EAP benefits or other services within the organization, so that they can get the help that they need to succeed both at home and at work. And of course, diversity, equity, and inclusion is so important right now, especially with systemic racism and discrimination systemically coming to the forefront. So having employee resource groups and other services where all employees feel heard and seen and valued and understood and appreciated by the company. Giving more public acknowledgement and appreciation for employees that really doesn't cost much, but really giving thanks and having conscious leadership. I can think of one CEO that kicked off some mental health trainings that he initiated for his organization, and he kicked them off by very authentically and humbly sharing his own experience with major depression. And wow, did it open the doors for some really honest conversations in his workplace and a real opportunity for people to reach out and get help and support and stay engaged in the workforce. Because I know I'm hearing across the board that it's hard to hire new staff. It's difficult to fill those positions. I find, I'm a former CEO, and I notice as I consult organizations that when you have a strong mission statement that has meaning and purpose, this is particularly important for millennials and Gen Z employees to have a sense of doing good in the world. And it gives your employees a sense that they're not just a taskmaster, they are part of an organization that is doing important work in the world that is of service to others. And that gives them a sense of loyalty and engagement in the organization. And I think it's important to remember that a healthy organization starts at the top. So really investing in some coaching and training for your C-suite, for your managers, leaders, and supervisors, perhaps mental health first aid for leaders and supervisors, and rolling out some other wellness training programs to really help people get motivated in the workplace and stay engaged.
Joyce, you're offering a new training called Reigniting the Mojo for staff to help address quiet quitting. Can you give us a snippet of what that's about? I mean, even just the headline makes me want to dive in and learn more. Also, how do you customize this for companies?
Well, funny that you mentioned that, because I created that presentation for a company that requested it. They had noticed this trend of quiet quitting, particularly among their young professionals who they'd hired during the pandemic, who had not really become integrated with one another or with other staff, didn't really have a sense of community. So I came to an in-person training where they had their 2020, 2021, and 2022 new hires. And my favorite thing as a therapist is to mirror back to my clients all of their unique talents and empower them to align them with a unique need in the world. So I really inspire attendees to look at their talents and their skills and look at a way within the organization that they could grow and develop within themselves and within the organization. So I give lots of presentations, like my signature keynote, The Psychology of Success, and mental wealth, which you mentioned earlier, which is related to my book on the connection between mental health and financial health, which is great to motivate sales teams. So having these types of customized trainings for whatever the needs are within your organization can really show your employees that you care and you're giving them practical tools and takeaways to improve their professional success and their personal wellness.
Joyce, I know I have sure learned a lot from you through the years. I've appreciated your trainings. It definitely helps to have a therapist, speaker who is also a CEO and has been in our shoes. So, Joyce, thank you so much today for sharing your insights.
Thanks so much for having me, Julie.
Joyce writes a regular segment for Psychology Today and has numerous radio, TV, and podcast interviews on her website, along with resources and information on those corporate trainings. I encourage you to learn more at joycemarter.com, and be sure to click over to watch the next episode in our series.